Today is the day the Lord hath made, and I shall rejoice and be glad in it. Today is Labor Day. Labor Day, Labor Day, Labor Day. Bless God for every day. And I'm only happy about today being a holiday because I get paid to sit at home. That's pretty much the only thing holidays are to me anymore, are days, paid days off. And I'll take them. I still have a job that I work every day. I get up and go to work. And I tried attending a church that I was interested in experiencing for a little while. And, you know, the Spirit of the Lord is not in every church. And it's unfortunate to say that. But just because the ministry is great and the preaching is phenomenal doesn't mean that the Lord is in that church. And I don't like saying that, but you have to understand the reality of it is that God is going to be where he chooses to be. Amen. So I'm going to clean my camera off a little bit here. Ta-da, I got a little bit of better picture. But anyway, um, today being Labor Day, I wanted to try to take the time. It's actually September 4th, 2023. It's 11:03 a.m. where I am, Kansas, America. And I just wanted to talk about some stuff, but first I'm just going to dive right into reading chapter 1 of Ecclesiastes. And the reason why I'm picking Ecclesiastes is because Ecclesiastes is not a book that people preach from. It's not a book that people center a sermon on. They might pick a specific verse or set of verses from Ecclesiastes to use in reference tools on other books, but they never teach or preach specifically from Ecclesiastes because, number one, Ecclesiastes is a book of human wisdom. It doesn't tell us about how God gets involved and fixes everything for us. The book of Ecclesiastes also tells us that from a human perspective, that we can experience all aspects of life and still have it come to naught for no reason. You doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't mean as much to know that we are fallible, finite human beings with a limited time frame on earth, with generations cycling in and out, just like the cycle of life on earth, where the rivers go into the lakes and streams and out into the sea and large bodies of water back to the places where they started all over again. And watching generations of people pass away when new generations of those people come out. It's not easy to tell people that God doesn't always give you what you want specifically unless you pray for the ability to get access to something that's really going to help you get to that next step or the next level in life. The book of Ecclesiastes tells us how we are as humans because it's from a perspective. It's from a personal perspective. It's from a personal life experience that Solomon had when he was able to live his life and he started being a king of Israel as a young teenager, was taught to become the king of Israel after David passed away, took the throne. And when God asked him what he could do for him, Solomon asked simply only for wisdom. And the wisdom was for him to have the knowledge of how to do what God wanted him to do in the power that he needed to have to do what he needed to do. And it really makes a lot of sense because if you think about it, being a kid, a lot of teenagers, you can see the examples being set every day right now. Teenagers don't want wisdom. They already know everything. We were teenagers before we got to be older people that raised up teenagers that became older people and see the generations passing from one to another. But you think about how teenagers are, and you think about a young man like Solomon becoming the king of Israel at a teenage, and you wonder why he only wanted wisdom to know what he needed to do. But you have to understand something. The Bible tells us to train up a child in the way he should go. David was a man after God's own heart, and Solomon was a man after David's heart. Did you catch that? So if Solomon paid quite a bit of attention to his father, David, and followed him around as he was being king and being taught how to be king and taking in the knowledge that he needed and the wisdom that he needed from his father, David, to be able to sit in that throne once his father, David, had passed away, then God came to him and asked him, "What can I do for you?" And Solomon said, "Lord, I need wisdom because I don't know how to do this without you." So with that foundation being laid, let's talk about chapter 1. Chapter 1 in Ecclesiastes. I'm going to read the entire thing. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What profit hath a man of all his labor which he taketh under the sun? One generation passeth away, and another generation cometh, but the earth abideth forever. The sun also ariseth, and the sun goeth down, and hasteth to his place where he arose. The cycle. The wind goeth toward the south, and turneth about unto the north. It whirleth about continually. And the wind returneth again according to his circuits. The cycle. All the rivers run into the sea, yet the sea is not full. Unto the place from whence the rivers come, thither they return again. The cycle. All things are full of labor. Man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing. The ear is not filled with hearing. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be. And that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. Is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? It hath been already of old time, which was before us. There is no remembrance of former things, neither shall there be any remembrance of things that are to come with those that shall come after. I want to pause right here in chapter 1, verse 11. It says, there is no remembrance of former things. Somebody else said that. Remember ye not the former things. I, the preacher, was king over Israel in Jerusalem. I, the preacher, was, past tense, king over Israel in Jerusalem. And I gave my heart to seek and search out by wisdom concerning all things that are done under heaven. This sore travail hath God given to the sons of man to be exercised therewith. So it'll be an ongoing process. It'll never stop. As long as man lives, this is what we'll be doing. Okay, this is what it's talking about. I have seen all the works that are under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and vexation of spirit. Vexation. Let's define vexation really fast. And I'm going to use the New Oxford definition, because people think that, even though the Oxford definition is the politically correct definition, I'm going to give you both definitions, the politically correct definition and the Merriam-Webster definition, okay? The vexation, the state of being annoyed, frustrated, or worried. And that's the New Oxford definition. Okay. And the Merriam-Webster definition is the quality or state of being vexed, a cause of trouble, affliction, irritation, the act of harassing or vexing. Okay. Now, two totally different. I'm going to give you the politically correct definition once more so you can get the understanding of about how the government and societies have decided to take upon themselves to govern how we think as people instead of looking at the rooted definition of things. Okay. The rooted definition, the Merriam-Webster's definition, is more precise because it comes from the actual uh, context of what the meaning was, even as far back as maybe even the 1600s. So, vexation in the New Oxford says the state of being annoyed, frustrated, or worried, something that causes annoyance, frustration, or worry. Okay, listen carefully. There's two totally different defining concepts. Okay, so the New Oxford definition is the state of being annoyed, frustrated, or worried. Okay, the Merriam-Webster definition is the quality or state of being vexed, irritation, affliction, or troubling. Okay, the cause of trouble, the act of or harassing of or vexation, the act of harassing. Or so it's like something. If you're feeling vexed, then you're going to be feeling annoyed or afflicted by something or troubled by something. Okay, you're not necessarily going to be annoyed, frustrated, or worried as much as you would be. And it says something that causes annoyance, frustration, or worry. But those things, the politically correct version, the wording, the word usage and the term usage there is substantially different than that of the Merriam-Webster dictionary. Okay. The quality versus the state. Okay. The state is where a state is a derivative of saying something is stationary, that it's always going to be that way, period. The quality is qualitative. It defines the level of, okay? And it does say or state of being vexed, but the cause, the quality, the cause, or the act, okay? And this is the state or something that causes. So two different defining elements there. Just wanted to point those out. Now, we're looking at, I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and vexation of spirit. That which is crooked cannot be made straight, and that which is wanting cannot be numbered. I communed with mine own heart, saying, Lo, I am come to great estate, and have gotten more wisdom than all they that have been before me in Jerusalem. Yea, my heart had great experience of wisdom and knowledge. Does that sound familiar? Where I've talked about experiential wisdom, which is pretty much the human wisdom and not to be mistaken for godly wisdom. And I gave my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and the folly. I perceive that this also is vexation of spirit. It's annoying to do things that are of no consequence, not necessarily saying that that doesn't have a consequence, but as of no consequence, as in pointless to do. It's pointless to do pointless things, as in madness and folly, pointless things that don't have any point to do them, that really don't bring anything good, that don't have any fulfilling attributes. For in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. That I just want to get that Mike Tyson going and start talking like this every time I say all the THs in there. I just can't. At least I don't say it's increaseth. At least I don't say that. At least I don't say it's increaseth. Just trying to be funny. No offense to anybody who can't pronounce the TH like the, and they have to say because their lip is more useful than their tongue. But they know how to cuss, and they use that word mother, all right. They use the word mother, the mother, all right, but they don't use the anywhere else. It becomes f. So I don't understand it. But just to say, let's go over this a little bit. Okay. I'm going to start in verse 2 because the first one is just introductory. It says, the words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Does that mean anything? No, it's an introduction to who is doing the writing. Okay. So verse 2, it says, vanity of vanities, saith the preacher, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. We can look at vanity being so many different ways. Vanity being a selfishness, where we're only focused on us specifically. You think of a vanity as being a vanitized bathroom setting where there's a specific type of sink and mural or mirror in the bathroom where you have a setup, and they call it a vanity. Call it a vanity for a reason, because there's only one person that can look in that mirror at a time, and that's vanity. Because anything that's done specifically for a person that's in vain might be done by vanity. And it says here in the New Oxford definition, excessive pride in or admiration of one's own appearance or achievements, the quality of being worthless, okay, or futile. Now, I like this definition because you can't really change vanity. Excessive pride in or admiration of one's own appearance or achievements. That means that's selfishness if you think about it. Now, let's do a comparison here where we're doing the comparison from the words selfishness and vanity. Okay, so let's look at selfishness and vanity. Let's look at selfishness. I mean, they probably don't have too much relativity, but I mean, you'll get the understanding once I read the definitions to you. So the vanity definition is excessive pride in or admiration of one's own appearance or achievements. And the second definition under the Oxford definition is the quality of being worthless or futile. Okay. So let's look at the other one, the selfishness. It says the quality or condition of being selfish. Now, we could say that those are pretty much lined up in the same category, but not the same meaning. But they both mean just about the same thing. Though they're not defined equally, they have the same arguments to be made. Vanity is something that we do specifically for our own person or our own personal gain or whatever to take pride in something that we do for ourselves and so that we can get glory of or be seen of men and that people recognize what we're doing. So like when you see somebody pasting or posting stuff on Facebook that have biblical scriptures in them, they don't do that so that the Lord can see what they do. They do it for them to be acknowledged as, oh, look at that person there. They must really love the Lord because they copied and pasted somebody else's prayer in their comments, or they posted it on their feed, and look at them praying so adamantly because they can show themselves praying out publicly on Facebook, but not in public, because Jesus tells us that which we do in secret, the Lord will reward openly. So we don't want to make known. We don't want to try to set a presence for ourselves. And I know this setting right here with this video kind of looks like it might be in vain. And in fact, it might be. But I don't do this for myself. And I've said this repetitively throughout several of my videos. And I'll continue to say it because it's not me that's getting glory from this. I want the Lord to be glorified in my life. I want the Lord to know I love him and I'm grateful for everything he does for me. I want the Lord to know that I am thankful for every breath I'm able to take. And I do that all day, every day. And that's something that even in my troubled times, and it's hard to do, I'm not even going to lie to you, it's hard to do, but I still do it because God is sovereign. The Lord is a promise-keeping, prayer-answering, delivering, mighty God, in whom there is no shadow of turning, and everything he does is wonderful and perfect. And I know his plan works out better than mine. It always works out better than mine. His plan always works out better than any plan I could come up with. I might start thinking of something and it sounds good in my head, and I put it down on paper and it seems like it might work, but that doesn't mean it's going to work out the way I want it to. It's going to work out to the glory of God. Amen. So we're out here working. We do what we got to do for ourselves. Okay, so we're vanity. Everything we do it for a personal necessity. And even if it is afflicting or annoying or something that troubles us, we still do it because it's something that we need or we want to gain by doing it. Vanity. You want to eat, you're out planting crops and you're sowing your seed and you're plowing your fields and you're fertilizing the crop and making sure it has a good abundance of water to grow. And in the time of harvest, you want to get it out of there. And you're doing that. Why? Because you're hungry. Vanity. Number 3, verse 3. What profit hath a man of all his labor which he taketh under the sun? 4. One generation passeth. There I go with that F. Now I got to put that F out there. One generation passeth away, and another generation cometh, but the earth abideth forever. The sun also ariseth, and the sun goeth down and hasteth to his place where he rose. The wind goeth toward the south, and turneth about unto the north. It whirleth about continually, and the wind turneth again according to his circuits. So this is an ongoing process. It's always happening. It's always going about the way that it is, and it's going to keep going until the earth ceases to exist. And as long as these things are working the way they should, then they'll always continually be working the way they should. The wind is always going to blow. The water is always going to move. Where there's life, there's movement. But I want to go back here to verse 3. What profit hath a man of all his labor which he taketh under the sun? Again, that's vanity. Because what profit are we profiting spiritually? No. We're profiting out of necessity. We're profiting out of being able to do things for ourselves and doing and managing our own situations and circumstances. That's what we're doing. We're doing it out of vanity. We're doing it in vain. It doesn't bring God glory unless you're doing that thing to the glory of God. And everything you do, has a happiness or a fulfillment in your heart, as in you bringing God glory in that thing. So when you're glorifying God while you're doing your job, or you're bending metal or putting rubber in a form to make tires, or you're resoling shoes, or you're a carpenter or a mechanic, where you're fixing big diesel engines or gas engines, and you're a sound technician, or you're a TV repairman, whatever, the appliance salesman, whatever you might be. But if you do it in a way as in you're doing it to the glory of God in your heart, God sees that. That's not vanity. If you're doing it because you enjoy doing it and you think that you're doing it to the glory of God in your heart, that's not vanity. But it is when you're working towards your own necessity, and we all do it. We're all guilty of it. That's the reason why I don't know if you've ever seen the movie called The Devil's Advocate, starring Keanu Reeves. And I can't remember that woman's name that starred with him in there. But at the end of the movie, Al Pacino happens to be Satan in that movie, and he says, vanity, definitely my favorite sin. Well, the way vanity is being referenced here is not actually a sin more than it is an act of selfishness, or what the devil would use as to bring the pride out of you so that you take more pride in what you do for you than you do for God. Vanity. Okay? All things are full of labor. Man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. You know, there's only, you can't, let me give you, because this will only make sense to you if I tell you how this is being said. The eye is not satisfied with seeing. So as soon as you open your eyes, you say, oh, I've seen enough. No, that's not what's going to happen, right? You're like, oh, that looks interesting. What's that over there? Oh, look, there's another thing. Let me look at this. Oh, what's this over here? Oh, look at that. That looks nice. Look at this over here. See that tall thing over there? Look. I see. Oh, ooh, And you're just going to keep looking, and you'll never get enough of seeing things because your eyes are working. But take those eyes away from you. Don't take advantage of your gifts. Every good and perfect gift comes from above. Because the eye, I'm going to relate these two pieces of scripture for you really fast so you can get the understanding. Verse 8 and verse 15 of chapter 1 in Ecclesiastes, and listen carefully to the way this sounds. All things are full of labor. Man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. That which is crooked cannot be made straight, and that which is wanting cannot be numbered. If that made sense to you, then you're on the right path. But what it means is you'll never see enough. There's so many things that can be seen that you've never seen before. You're always going to see something new. There's always going to be new experiences. There's always going to be things you see that you act on, that interest you, that you want to see more of, that you want to see something else, and something is going to be new to you, but doesn't mean it's going to be new. It might be new to you because you've never seen it before. That doesn't mean it is new because it's already been there. You just have never experienced it. So Ecclesiastes is more about experiential wisdom and the experiences of the wisdom that was granted to Solomon in his lifestyle and his life and living, because Solomon lived a perfect life. You know, he lived the dream life that most people dream of living. He had everything he needed. He had all the free time he needed. And the only thing he had left to do was experience everything that he could possibly look at and hear and see and touch and feel and know. And that's all that he had left to do. His entire life was spent experiencing things. He didn't have to go out and learn how to do it. He already knew how to do it. He just had to experience it because God gave him the wisdom. I'm going to move on because if I get into that topic, then you'll get lost. Okay, the eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. So right now you're hearing me talk. I can talk for 50 years straight and your ears will never get full. Your head might get full, because you'll have some stuff you're trying to remember, but then your head is already full of stuff, and your head can't fully ascertain the capacity it needs to be able to remember and recall everything that you've ever experienced throughout your entire life. Only one man was able to do that, and that was Solomon. But your ear is never going to get so full of information that when you tilt your head, the stuff is going to start falling out of it. See what I mean? So you're going to be able to ingest more information. So it's a process. It goes in and it comes out just like it went in. It goes in here, it comes out here, or wherever it finds to escape. I have no idea. But if it comes in here and it comes out here and it doesn't stick here, then you won't be able to apply it here. You know? Does that make sense? The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. So you'll never be able to see and hear something new that's never been seen and heard. You'll never be able to experience something that has not ever been experienced. You personally might not ever have experienced or heard or seen that thing, but that doesn't make it new. Everything that is here and has always been here. It's like combining elements to make a new material. So like when they combine one thing, 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen, water, H2O, right? So you combine 2 elements and you've got water. But it doesn't change the fact that there are 2 separate elements combined to make something out of those 2 elements. It doesn't change the oxygen and it doesn't change the hydrogen. It puts them together and they're still the same. 2 heads are better than 1. If you come up with an idea on how to make a tool, another person will come up with an idea about how to put that tool to use, and then add another method to the tool, and the tool will be used in a way that was consistent, but that doesn't change the elements of the tool that made the tool, and it doesn't change the ideas or the characteristics of everything that was already there in place before those things became whatever they are to be used for. So in order to make metal work in the form of an engine, there has to be formed and there has to be some manipulation to those elements. And that's the only thing we can ever do is manipulate those elements, but we can't create the elements that's already been there before we were even thought of. We're just using them to make the thing that we want to use it for. It already is pre-existing. So the car was already there. It just wasn't built yet. So the bicycle was already there. It just wasn't built yet. The ship was already there. It just wasn't built yet. We got all the tools available to us. We just haven't used them to find out how to use them. We can use them in new ways, but we can't make things new. I'm going to lose you. I already know I'm going to lose you. I'm not going to keep on going down that path. I'm going to move on. Is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? It hath been already of old time, which was before us. It's already been there. It just hasn't surfaced yet. God hasn't put it in one man to do one thing, and in another man to do another thing, and another man to do another thing, and those 3 come together, and they all are able to use their ideas in combination to build the thing that is used of the elements that were already here before we. So the elements, just because something is made of those things doesn't mean it changes what it was. It's not new. It's just new to us. It was already there. God put all the knowledge we have in our heads and in our hearts to use and apply and make things the way they are. In his image are we made. There is no remembrance of former things. So you can think on it all day long. You'll forget more than you remember. You're not ever going to remember everything. And you might have some recollections. You might recall some things. You might be able to remember something, but it's only going to be a passing thought, and it'll be just that. It'll pass. And some people cling on the past. They don't even have time to live in the present moment because they're so busy living in the past, they can't even see their future. There is no remembrance of former things, neither shall there be any remembrance of things that are to come with those that shall come after. So there's always going to be something that's happening. Things where there's life, there's going to be movement. Something's always going to be changing and going and doing. Something's going to be getting done, and then things are going to be moving, and it's always going to be the same thing over and over again. It's going to be repetition. It's the cycle. Just like the water that started in the river that made its way down to the lake, that made its way down to the sea, that made its way out to the ocean, had wound up getting evaporated, going up to the clouds and getting cleaned out by the cloud and filtration system that is of the planet. And then it got dropped back down to the earth and made water drinkable again. And then we process the water with our bodies and we urinate it into the toilet, and it goes down the toilet and it swirls down into the sewage system. And the sewage system goes to another water source, and the water source gets passed on. So you might be drinking the stuff you just drank last week. You just don't know it. Sorry. I'm sorry. I, the preacher, was king over Israel in Jerusalem. And I gave my heart to seek and search out by wisdom concerning all things that are done under heaven. This sore travail hath God given to the sons of man to be exercised therewith. Let's look at travail, because people think travail is all about a woman making birth, having birth or birthing something. You're travailing, you're birthing it. It's not always birth. Travail is like resistance, or I'm not even looking at the definition right now. I don't even know the definition just yet because I haven't really defined it. I haven't even looked at it, but I know pretty much what I'm thinking on is that it's resistance or something that's contending, something that you contend with, that you're trying to deal with or trying to live with or trying to do, that it's hard to do, but you still wind up getting it done some kind of way. And it still needs to be done, because even though if you don't want to do it, you still have to do it, and it needs to get done, because if you don't do it, it won't get done. Okay, so this is the Webster's definition of travail, and I'm just looking at this for the first time ever in my life, okay? A work, especially of a painful or laborious nature. What did I just say? A physical or mental exertion or piece of work. What did I just say? Let's look at what travail means in Oxford. Painful or laborious effort. They simplified the definition. There's a lot of good points in the Oxford definitions that are not so politically correct because they can't change the definition to their liking. But travail is something that's labor intensive. Just like I defined it before I defined it, but it's already been defined, because it just is something that the Lord gives you that wisdom. You start to know things that when it comes into you, you start to understand what that means. And all thy getting, get understanding. If you understand the wisdom that God is giving you, the only way you can use that wisdom is to apply it wholeheartedly to do the will of God in your life and do that which is pleasing to God, and make sure that God gets the glory for what you do. And when people ask you, how are you doing today? You can say, by the glory, by the grace of God. That's my answer. Every time somebody, how you doing today? I say, by the grace of God. Because that's always how I'm doing. I'm always doing by the grace of God, because if it wasn't for the grace of God, I wouldn't be able to do it. Okay, moving on. I've seen all the works that are done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and vexation of spirit. Everything that we do that's under the sun, here on earth, in the world, the processes of shipping ships, carrying shipping containers, and manufacturers making parts for whatever they're building, and the preachers going in on Sunday morning to commune with the people in the pews and give them a message from the Lord, if it is definitely a message from the Lord, and the Lord getting the glory from said message through the Spirit of the Lord in the church. And then you have people who make food for people, people that are serving people. All that stuff is not anything bringing God glory, not God being recognized. I'm not saying that God isn't recognized in those things. I'm saying that those things, God has no use for them. We do, and we do it in vain because we want it, we need it, we got to have it. Think about this technology. If this technology suddenly crashed, boy, the world would going to shock and awe and talk about travail and vexation. Boy, y'all tell you what, there'll be some vexation then, because this technology crash, boy, we all in trouble, because then the world will be coming to an end, and then the Antichrist is here, and then Joe Biden did it. You know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That which is crooked cannot be made straight, and that which is wanting cannot be numbered. Of course, you're not going to straighten out something that's already made to be crooked, because the Lord created all things unto himself, including the wicked for the day of evil. You can't expect God to give you what you want your way if you're not willing to give God what he wants his way. So why do you think he gave Solomon all this wisdom? Because Solomon just wanted to do what pleased God. That didn't mean that he wasn't a human man. That didn't mean that he didn't go out and experience and stuff. He said that, I'll give it to you here in a minute. He said that he did it. He said he went out and did stupid things. He said he went out, did foolish things, stupid things, and he found out that it was all vexation and vanity. Listen, he said, I communed with mine own heart, saying, lo, I am come to great estate. Look at how good I've done. I'm done pretty good for myself right now. And have gotten more wisdom than all they that have been before me in Jerusalem. And I am the smartest man alive. And I've got everything a man could want. Yea, my heart had great experience of wisdom and knowledge. And I gave my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I perceived that this also is vexation of spirit. For in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. You notice how I got the fifth down that time, didn't I? But anyway, you got to understand, this is Solomon giving his human wisdom to us to be able to learn from his mistakes, or understanding that this is still in the Old Testament. Okay, we're still in the Old Testament with Ecclesiastes, and people want to hear New Testament stuff, and that's the truth. New Testament is the truth. You can't go without New Testament now, because New Testament, it tells you all about Jesus Christ and the birth of Jesus and how Jesus walked and did his ministry and gave his life, because that was his calling. That was his assignment. And even when he went to go be tested, he was led by the Spirit into the wilderness immediately after being baptized to be tested by the devil, be tempted by the devil. Now, you got to understand something about that. And I'm going to break that down for you before I move on, because I want you to remember this first. Verse 18 in chapter 1. For in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. I want you to remember that, okay? Because when Jesus went to the cross. Before going to the cross, he was led to the wilderness by the Spirit. So you got to know that in order for him to fulfill what was necessary in his assignment, he had to be tested. Are you sure you're ready for this? Let's find out. Jesus didn't want to go through what he went through. It was part of the process before he can move forward with his ministry. Okay. It's something that had to happen because the Spirit and the responsibility that was placed on him had to introduce itself to the devil to let him know that he already lost, that this is not a winnable fight. This is not something that you will succeed at. But listen, chapter 4 in Matthew says, then was Jesus led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterward and hungered. And when the tempter came to him, he said, if thou be the Son of God, command that these stones be made bread. So I'm going to stop right there. We know the rest of what happens there. We know the rest of what happens there. Okay? So listen to what happens here. Verse 18, for in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. Jesus was God in the flesh. God is infinite wisdom. We don't have the capacity as human beings to hold or handle the amount of wisdom that God has and is. There's no way we can handle it. We're limited on all our abilities. We only use a certain capacity of our brains, and when we're able to access more of our brains, then the more that we know, the harder things get, because the smarter we become, the harder things become, because the more is expected of us, because we're expected to be more. If we know better, then there's going to be more expected of us to do the right thing at the time that it needs to be done. So when Jesus was led up to the wilderness by the Spirit, the capital S Spirit, the Spirit of God, the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, led him into the wilderness. Why would you think the Holy Spirit would lead him into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil? We got to try and see if you're going to give yourself over to any human fallacies before we allow you to move forward in building your ministry, Jesus. We know that you're capable of doing it, but we need to make known that you are capable of doing it. So when Jesus was out there and he had to suffer for 40 days and 40 nights, he went without eating or drinking water. Okay. And he was very, very hungry, very, very thirsty. And the first thing he gets tempted with is eating. Go ahead. Here you go. Bite this rock. This rock, you can turn this rock into bread. Go ahead and eat this, Jesus. Go ahead. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. Okay. Test one pass. Don't you think that the garden, if people continually want to give the devil credit for the serpent in the garden that beguiled Eve. What do you think? Who do you think gets the credit for having Jesus be tested when the credibility has already been given to the Spirit? It's going to be a trial period before every serious assignment and endeavor. And the more you know, you're going to be tested on that stuff. The more you know, the more sorrowful you're going to be, because you're going to be tested of that stuff. You're going to be given a test of knowledge. It was a test of knowledge about everything that he had learned leading up to that specific point in his life after being baptized by John the Baptist. So he had to be led up by the Holy Spirit, because the Holy Spirit had already descended on him like a dove. And obviously Jesus wasn't really at capacity to go into the wilderness. He wasn't ready for that yet. But if you have the knowledge, you have to be ready for unwarranted things that you're not prepared for. So the preparation is in the knowledge. If you know about it, then you'll probably be sorry that you know about it, because you're going to be tested on that stuff. And there's a lot of people that think they're the smartest people on earth. But according to the book of Ecclesiastes, your knowledge will only get you so far. You might, in the words of T.D. Jakes, give him credit for this one, have more degrees than a thermometer. But you can't use those degrees, won't save you or separate you from anybody or give you more prestige. I'm going to tell you something. Promotion comes from the Lord. I'm going to give you that before I get off of here, okay? I'm going to give you that before I get off of here. We're going to Psalm 75, verses 6 and 7. And these Psalms are not poetry, okay? They're not poets. They're not poems. They're songs to the Lord. These are Psalms are songs. They're readable songs. You can sing them if you know how to sing them. But they're songs that were written. Look, I mean, it says to the chief musician, to the chief musician, to the chief musician. And the ones I'm in right now, the musician. This is music. Psalms are songs. They're songs to the Lord. Okay. They might not sound like music to us, because listen to stuff we listen to now, but they're songs. That's what they are. They're not poetry. They're songs. People presume that all songs are just poems sung, but they're not. That's not it either. So let's just say verse 6 and 7. Okay, I'm going to read the whole thing. Psalm 75. It's not very long. Unto thee, O God, do we give thanks. Unto thee do we give thanks, for that thy name is near, thy wondrous works declare. When I shall receive the congregation, I will judge uprightly. The earth and all the inhabitants thereof are dissolved. I bear up the pillars of it, Selah. That's a song. Selah is like the chorus. I said unto the fools, deal not foolishly, And to the wicked, lift not up thine horn. Lift not up your horn on high. Speak not with a stiff neck. Like, don't think you're better than people. Nose in the air. For promotion cometh neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south. But God is the judge. He putteth down one and setteth up another. Glory be to God. For in the hand of the Lord there is a cup, and the wine is red. It is full of mixture, and he poureth out of the same. But the dregs thereof, all the wicked of the earth, shall wring them out and drink them. But I will declare forever, I will sing praises to the God of Jacob. Sing praises to the God of Jacob. And the horns of the wicked also will I cut off, but the horns of the righteous shall be exalted. Those are songs, man. But promotion cometh neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south. If you're going to be promoted, if you're looking to be promoted, you got to promote God first. You promote God. You got to put God out there first. Promote him. Promote God. Promote God, and God will promote you. You're looking for a promotion, it's not going to come from your work, from your ability to do a good job. It's going to come from the Lord. But you got to exalt God first. Promote God first. Lift up God first. Put God first in everything. And people look at me, even people that have known me all my life will look at me and say, look, this man thinks he's one to talk. Look at him. Well, that's fine too. Judge not lest ye be judged. With the same judgment ye use, it'll be measured to you again. Don't worry about the speck on my eye if you got a log on your own. I can battle you all day with scripture. Where are you at? Glory be to God. May the Lord be glorified in my life and in yours. And I hope you have a wonderful and blessed week and enjoy Labor Day, because what profit hath a man of all his labor which he taketh under the sun? It's your portion. Have a blessed day.